10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. What a fight! I think Muratalla won it.
Juan, the Hispanic causing panic, Lascano.
Welcome to Hispanics Causing Panic with your hosts, Calix and D-Style Boxing.
And thanks to those joining me live and those that be joining me on the archive. If you're listening on archive, hit that like button, hit that bell button, so that way you're notified every time D-Style Boxing comes on live. If you're listening on X, like it, tweet it, share it. And if you want to join the chat, you could always come to D-Style Boxing here on YouTube and join it, subscribe, all that good stuff. Of course, it's available on X on Calix Boxing 2.0. Shout out to everybody. Shout out to the Shushan. Shout out to Chicano Province. Shout out to everybody. Let's go ahead and get this one started. It's episode 166 of Hispanics Causing Panic. And Calix will be joining us momentarily. Look, man, I'm going to start off with this, right? Let's start off with, I saw a video by Terrence Crawford, and he's defending Shakur Stevenson, who is his friend. And he's saying, all these people, they got podcasts, and all these people, they think they know boxing, but they don't know boxing. The reality is that the name of the sport is boxing. It's called boxing. You box. It's not called fighting. If you want to watch fighting, go watch MMA. That's what he said. Great messaging. I mean, what a message. What a great way to keep the people around, right? Well, what a great message to people. Like, if you want to be entertained, go watch that sport over there. They do all the fighting, exciting shits over there. Over here, we do all the sweet science boxing stuff. We don't fight. We box. Oh, yeah, great messaging. Just to defend your friend. It's unbelievable, bro. Let me tell you guys something. This whole the name of the game is boxing. We know what the sport is called. Like, what does that even mean, bro? It's not. No sport is called fighting. None of them. MMA is not called fighting. It's not called MMF. It's called MMA. All right? What does that even mean? It's like saying it's called basketball, not playing. What does that mean? In the sport of boxing, you fight. You don't play. You fight. Like, what are you talking about? But it's called boxing. People need to understand that it's hit and not get hit. Okay. What about it? What about hitting and not getting hit? Well, what about it? What do you mean that's the definition of? No, it's not. That's not the definition of boxing. We want to get literal about it. We want to get literal about it? Let's look up let's look up the definition. I'm being petty, but we're just going to do it. This is from the Oxford Dictionary. I said, we want to be elites. Let's put our pinkies up and go to the Oxford Dictionary. The definition of boxing, now from Oxford Advanced Learners Dictionary, is the following. A sport in which two people fight each other with their hands while wearing very large, thick gloves. Nowhere does it say that the literal definition is hit and I get hit, and it doesn't say any of that. Should we go to Webster's? What are we doing here? Let's see. Merriam-Webster's Dictionary. The art of attack and defense with the fist practiced as a sport. 1. An act of enclosing in a box. 2. A box held enclosure. 3. Material used for boxes and casings. Okay. Well, you know what doesn't mean that. Boxing is a sport, ladies and gentlemen. All right? Boxing is a sport. That's the name they gave the sport. All right? We want to talk about the name of the game, then let's talk about the name of the game. Let's talk about the whole point of the sport. Well, why are we doing this whole thing to begin with? The people sit down one day and say, man, let's create a sport where two guys avoid engagement as much as possible, and then whoever punches the other the most after a certain amount of time wins the fight. Because that's the name of the game. That's the game we're going to create. That's not the game that was created. That was not the name of the game. That was never the purpose. All right? And that's just fact. That's not debatable. All right? The sport of boxing, prize fighting, right? When it started, even if we want to go to the start as a starting point, let's use the Marquess of Queensberry rules. All right? From that point on, the whole point of it, right, was to create this sport that forces guys to engage with their fists, right, until there's one man left standing. That was always the point of the sport. If you want to talk about the name of the game, things that were effective and worked were removed with the Marquess of Queensberry rules in order to force engagement with the fists, in order to make fights more entertaining for people, right? This is nothing new. When wrestling was removed from prize fighting, when it was removed from that the whole point was, shout out to Calix, I'm sure wrestling was effective. I'm sure a lot of guys wanted to keep wrestling. Oh, well, what do you mean? The name of the game is to win the fight. If I could take a guy down, beat him up. Why are you removing that rule? We removed it because people didn't want to see it. That's why it was removed. Kicking was removed. It's in the rules. Go read the Marquess of Queensberry rules. I'm sure kicking was effective. I'm sure if I fought Calix, I would want to kick him, right? Are you removing that from me? The name of the game is to hit and not get in. Well, what's wrong with that? What's wrong with kicking? Oh, I want to kick his legs. What's wrong with that? But now we've made up this whole thing now, right? This whole, the name of the game is to hit and not get hit, right? Of course, that's the name of the game. But that's not the definition of boxing, though. That's not what it is. I looked it up. I went to Oxford's dictionary, Calix, and it doesn't say hit and not get hit. It's not what it says when you look at the definition of boxing. I'm just saying. What's up, Calix?
What's up? What did I
Look,
what I stumble into? Because you're trying to kick me.
What I'm saying, right? And look, shut up. Look, I have all the respect in the world for Terence Crawford, right?
Yeah.
Probably the best pound for pound in the world. 1 or 2. It's him or in a way, and it's nobody else. That's me. Okay. Great fighter. Entertaining fighter. I've never once came in and said, oh, Crawford's a boring. I never said that about Crawford. Right. But now because he wants to defend his friend, Shakur Stevenson, right, who looks up to him, right? He's his big brother. You know what I mean? Because he wants to defend Shakur, he's going out there doing interviews, and he said, oh, because people don't understand that it's boxing. That's what he said. It's boxing. It's not fighting. It's boxing. Look up boxing. It's hit and not get hit. Box. That's what boxing is. You want to watch fighting? Go watch UFC. What are you watching boxing for? We don't fight here. We box. That's the message, Calix. Oh, you don't like it? Go watch UFC. Oh, brilliant messaging. I mean, unbelievable. What a great way to grow the sport. You know? And my whole point has been the following, right? We need to start enforcing the rules that already exist. Okay? So when people say things like, well, Shakur Stevenson, he's only being, it's the name of the game, hit and not get hit, yada, yada, yada. Well, why are you guys on him? He's just doing his thing. It is entertaining. You just don't know it's entertaining because you don't understand it. But we understand it. We're elites. You just don't know the name of the game. It's boxing, not fighting. I just think it's a horrible message. All right? Mm-hmm. That's what it is. That's just me. And I've always argued that a lot of these styles that are making the sport unwatchable, the hit, constant resetting, holding, avoiding engagement, being negative in fights, and people praising it as this very crafty, slick style that it's like calculus. We can't possibly understand, and that's why we can't appreciate it, right? Mm-hmm. My only thing is, it's time to start enforcing the rules. Start not allowing these guys to constantly be holding. And let's go back to the 18 by 18 ring like we used to have in the 50s, 60s, 70s, etc. Let's just do that, okay? And you could do all the slick stuff you want, but under those parameters. And if somebody tells you, oh, why are you going to do that? You'd have to do that for X, Y, and Z. Ali was fighting under those. If people like to keep bringing up Ali, right? Yeah. Ali, because Ali, look, you wouldn't say it about Ali. You wouldn't say it about Whitaker. Those guys fought in 18 by 18 rings, right? They fought it in 20 by 20s, not 22 by 22, 24 by 24, right? Hagler fought in 18 by 18 rings. I mean, let's just do that, right? And let's start enforcing rules. Also, there's nothing wrong with getting more strict with rules or changing the rules to try to make the sport more exciting because the sport has done that from the beginning. And that's why I was talking about when it comes to the Marcus of Queensberry rules. Right? The Marcus and Queensberry rules were created to make prize fighting more exciting and to force guys to engage with their fists. That's what it was made for.
Limited by design, right?
It's 100% limited by design, yes.
So enforce the rules that's on the book. And the main
but no, you want to take away what's effective. Let's say it is effective. Well, I'm sure wrestling was effective when the Marcus and Queensberry rules were created. I'm sure kicking was effective when it was created, but they got rid of it for a reason, right? Yep. So and also when Jack Dempsey fought, there was no neutral corner rule, and then we created a neutral corner rule. You could argue having no neutral corner probably makes the sport more exciting. Maybe not as safe, but more exciting, right? But for safety reasons, they created that. I get it. Ali didn't fight. Ali did fight under those rules, and rules have changed over time, right? In other sports, they change the rules to make things more exciting, right? Or to speed up the game, like in baseball, like. Shot clocks were created in basketball to speed up the game and force them to just go attack the basket. What's wrong with, enforcing the current rules, right, that already exist and even making them more strict to make the sport more exciting? I'm sorry. I'm in favor of it.
Yeah, me too. And I think the two we need to start with is enforce tactical clinching early and often. Early in the fight, you see excessive holding, enforce it. I was clapping when Tevin Farmer was penalized a point. Yes, thank you, let's get a fight, right? And I actually think Tevin Farmer, as opposed to a lot of fighters, wasn't as negative as a lot of fighters that I've seen. So you could argue maybe he's not the one to make an example of in this case, but I'm glad that the point was taken. More people need to be doing this. Take points early and often, and force these guys into fights. And let's see who's slick and who isn't. Let's see who's great defensive fighter and who isn't when they actually have to keep their hands free and fight with a higher degree of difficulty. And like you said, also universal. I would love to see this universal 18 by 18 ring size. We need to stop doing this thing where, and I understand some people would argue this is the beauty of boxing is you could do this. It's not centralized, but I want to see less things being able to be weaponized by the A-side fighter. Let's get universal ring sizes across the board. Let's get this the weight stuff is starting to become a mess. Let's get it to a point where you can't weigh in 36 hours plus before a fight. Right. That's not good either. We need to start to get some universal rules in play here, and that's one of them. 18 by 18 ring size.
I agree with 18 by 18 on the counter attack will be, why don't you want the guys to be able to move? I want to see the sweet science and I want to see the movement. Because you guys don't appreciate, you don't like it.
Let's see it in an 18 by 18. If they're great movers, they'll still be able to do it.
No, but I'm just tired of the elitist, because you just don't understand the art of it. Like I'm just tired of it, bro. I do understand it. I even get that it's effective, because it's winning guys' fights and it's putting them where they are. I get that. But in many cases, it's unwatchable. Mm-hmm. Crawford could say all he wants. So why were you in the back telling him you should throw more punches then? Why is Roy Jones saying, yeah, his footwork's good, but he's just too far out of range. When he gets out of the way, he can't make the guys pay. And so the fans start to find that boring. Like Roy Jones said that. But when we say it, it's a criminal if fans say it. Fans aren't allowed to give their opinion whether something's exciting or not. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But this whole idea, I think it's dangerous messaging to say, well, if you don't like it, go watch UFC then. Yeah, it's dumb. If you want to be entertained and don't want to appreciate the art, go watch UFC. That's a horrible message to give people. I don't think people understand how dumb that sounds. I'm sorry, with all due respect.
And there's stop babying these fighters too. All these dudes are coming out in defense of Shakur. Shakur needs to fight his own battles, number one. And Shakur knows what's going on. And it irks him that he's seen as a boring fighter. And he knows he put on two back-to-back lackluster performances. And how do I know this? Look at how he's acting still right now. He's on Twitter right now going after people, spraying more shots. And guys who are secure are not out there doing that.
Yeah, and here's the other thing. Only in this era, this is the only era. I saw Shakur go after Shushu Sharon and making fun of him because he makes less than $200,000 a year, and
he's fighting 8-rounders.
What do you care what a dude is making, bro? Why are you counting his pockets? What are you worried about? The fans do the same thing. Oh yeah, he only makes $500,000. Ha ha. Why do you guys care about that stuff? I just don't understand. The only time I care is when it's something that's going to determine where a fighter's going. So Shakur not accepting $3 million a fight from Top Rank, right? Now makes me wonder, okay, so where is he going to go? Who's going to pay him? Where's he going to end up? So it's relevant to the boxing discussion, right? But I just did this obsession, bro. So it makes me ask questions. So you want to engage in it, let's engage in it. You tell me, Calix, so 3 million, you tell me how 1 million viewers on ESPN, 900,000 at the gate, translates to 3 million for just Shakur. Can you break that down for me? Can anybody break that down? Again, you guys are the ones you want to bring up. You want to make fun of fighters and what they're making. So are you really worth what you're asking for? Because that's what makes me ask questions. Yeah, I'm just asking questions, right? Because now when we got, if 1 million viewers on ESPN is 3 million, then imagine we get a fighter that brings in viewership and gets gets excited about boxing, and then he gets 10 million viewers on ESPN one day. So what are we supposed to pay him? 100 million or what? Like what? Like it's just think about like if you got to pay if a dude that makes $1 million does 1 million viewers is worth 3 million, when not even $1 million at the gate. Imagine somebody that gets more viewers, what they're going to be worth. And how does that matter to me? Because I'm a consumer, I'm paying for the product, and what quality fights am I going to get? If you're giving so much money to one or a couple of fighters, that's why I care. Because somebody's wondering. I don't know. Can you break it down, Kells?
Can't.
Shout out to Remy for the 1 membership gifted. I appreciate it, brother. And I'd rather watch Kiddo Plant than Shakur. There you go.
Not Caleb Plant's next fight.
Yeah, I don't know about that one, but can somebody explain to me, like before we move on from this topic, Alex, what do you make of that attitude that we get now? Like fighters are being very condescending to fans, and you guys just don't know what you're watching. You don't like it because you don't appreciate it. The name of the game is hit and not get hit. Yeah, you got any thoughts on that?
I don't understand how do you expect to grow a fan base that way? Who finds this attractive? I don't like if a fighter says I don't care about the fans, I'm just gonna go and put on my performances and try to win. Why would I be emotionally invested in that? I'm not understanding. And this seems to be a thing now in American boxing. And Ring IQ said this on your channel, I believe it was last year, maybe even 2 years ago. Like, people seem to be doing this thing in American boxing where they seem to be confused as to why American boxing fans are starting to flock towards some foreign fighters. And they think it's more surface level issues, but it's not. It's pretty simple. And what it is we have certain expectations of fighters, and we appreciate fighters who go out there and try to live up to those expectations and actually care what the fans think, actually care about entertaining the fans. We hear all the time, right? It's a business. All right, well, you have to entertain if it's a business. If it's not a sport and it's a business, part of business is
it's a sport when it's convenient. It's a business when it's convenient.
That's right.
Like, it's what are we doing?
And the thing is, this is what I appreciate about Boots, because I don't know if we'll talk about him in a little while or not.
Sure.
But the thing I appreciate about Boots is right after the fight, I log on to Twitter and I see dudes, oh, he gets hit too much. His defense is terrible, and he better not face Bud. He ain't ready.
His defense wasn't even that bad, bro.
And I'm watching it though, but I appreciate a dude who goes out there, 14,000 plus fans, and he's looking up. He's appreciative. He seems appreciative of it, and he seems to want to entertain his fans. Give me that all day. Over the dude who is this defensive specialist who doesn't care about the 8,000 fans who show up and could care less if they're entertained. Give me the dude that's going to entertain me.
How can anybody watch Boots' performance and say, "Oh my God, he got hit a lot"? Like, I mean, is that really what they came out with?
That's what they came out with. That's
like,
what I'm watching. I'm telling you.
Look, everybody gets hit. That's number one. Crawford gets hit. Like, but my point is this, right? I think the argument people are making, Calix, when it comes to, and we'll from here we'll segue to the Boots thing because it's pertaining to him. There's this like idea that, like the argument anyway, to counter what we're saying, right? About, hey, you got to be entertaining to the fans, is that somehow the entertainment value makes you less of a skilled fighter, makes you dumb the way you're fighting, right? There's like that connection people are making with that. Oh, you're dumb if you fight that way. Why would you fight that way? And then they bring up these extreme examples of, I saw like Shakur retweeting like the way James Toney talks. And people are like, hey, keep doing your thing, champ, because they want you to end up like this. And they want you to be slurring your words. They want you to end up like Meldrick Taylor, and they want you to do this and that. No, nobody wants fighters to end up that way. Mm-hmm. All right. First of all, if you want to avoid the risk of ending up that way, then don't box. Go do something else. There's other professions you should do then, right? I've worked construction jobs that were very dangerous, right? Where it wasn't likely, but in the grand scheme of things, possible I could have died, right?
Yeah.
Well, I'm not going to make people feel guilty about it if I decide to do it, right? If my boss tells me, oh, that needs to get done within the end of the week, oh, you just want me to die? Is that what you want? Like, no, bro. Like, nobody wants that. Okay, let's just make that 100% clear. All right. But the reality is, it is a dangerous sport, right? And you would think that from a moral perspective, I guess we're all immoral, all of us, for watching the sport of boxing because it's dangerous, because it could inflict damage on people, right? But listen carefully to what they're saying, Alex. Champ, you don't want to end up like Maldrick Taylor. You don't want to end up like James Toney. But notice how they don't say that about the opponent.
Yep.
They push Shakur beating the fuck out of a dude in a one-sided fight all day. They love that. All one-sided beatdowns are the most dangerous fights in all of boxing, ladies and gentlemen. That's number one.
Yep.
You don't care about how they end up. You don't care about the outmatched opponent, how they end up. You don't care about that. So even when the guy's being ultra defensive and they're boring the crowd and they're not getting hit, their opponent is getting hit, right? And they're prolonging the beating for 12 rounds. And in not very entertaining way, but they're still prolonging it for 12 rounds, right? Most deaths in boxing have been caused by consistent, constant damage being inflicted on an opponent, usually in a one-sided fashion, right?
Absolutely.
So spare me your moral compasses, right? Because you're only looking at things from a very narrow perspective, right? Very rarely, right? Of course, you're going to find examples. Very rarely do you see two evenly matched opponents have a great fight and then something bad happens to one of those fighters, right? I'm not saying it doesn't happen. And we all understand the risk of what could happen, right? Right? We get that. Right, but be real. You want to protect Shakur, not the fighters. You want to protect the fighters you like, not the fighters. Okay?
Yep.
Chicano, it's called construction. Construct. Don't fall off the roof. That's right. Like, it is what it is, but like,
You're right.
I just hate the moral compass argument.
And the constant hypocrisy and double speak. So they'll do this. We want the best to fight the best, right? So then they'll do this. I saw this dude earlier, and he's a good dude. There's nothing wrong. I know I'm not gonna call him out, but
He's a terrible dude.
no, he is. But he said something to the effect that Rigo made a mistake by going up and fighting Loma. He never shouldn't have done that. Shouldn't have taken that risk. And this is the
we don't want to
problem.
say the name.
No, we're not doing that. The problem that I have with
We're
it,
Hispanics causing panic over here. We gotta like you know what I mean? Like it's not like he said something horrible. He just said it was a mistake there.
No. He has good takes, but I'm just saying, using an example, because boxing fans, I think they're still conditioned to think a certain way about fighters taking risks that they shouldn't
100%.
take, and we want the best to fight the best. We want dudes to fight the risk. Allegedly, right? Supposedly. And then we say stuff like that. It's like, no, dude took a risk. He thought he could win the fight. He lost the fight. We move on. But he tried, right? Mm-hmm. And the other part of this is you talk about the mismatches in boxing. And I've said it over and over. I think there's no greater detriment to fighter safety than mismatches. There are others. There are the weight draining, the ballooning up in between fights. That's terrible too. Look, we talk about drug use, but mismatches are a far greater risk to health of fighters. When you put dudes in there 25 to 1, 30 to 1, and what do we say all the time? D-style, they don't care about fighter safety. They care about the safety of the A-side fighter. They could care less about the B-side fighter. They could care less about the poor dude that's lined up as a 35 to 1 underdog to come in there and lose and get beat up. right?
They don't care about that
less,
guy.
They could care less about the dude taking the fight on short
And,
notice.
and all these examples they give us, all champ, it's something like, because I heard Bradley, right? Bradley was saying, like, why should he go in there and give the fans, like, what if he gets hit and then you end up in the hospital? The fans are going to be there for you. Yeah, well, all y'all, you ain't there for the opponent.
Yeah.
I never seen any of y'all like worried about asking about the opponent and all that. Like, I never see that. Like, I'm sorry. Like, you chose the sport of boxing. No one's forcing any of these dudes to box, bro. No, nobody. And because, like, I can't stand that the legends created this sport to a point where they could bastardize it right now and mock the people that support it, and they still get paid off of it because of what was built off of the backs of those legends. And then they turn around and mock those legends, right? Like, oh yeah, but look how they ended up, and look how they were talking at the end of their career. Like you do know that those legends built this ship so you can make money, so the current fighters could be making money, right? And it's also a misnomer. Like, no, not everyone ended up that way. Whatever that, like, as in like damage from the sport, right? Plenty didn't. Chavez ain't. He's still kicking. He's still like announcing fights and everything and all that, and he still trains and all that. Roberto Duran looks in decent health for his age. The Mata lived till he was 90. I mean, like, there's.
I just don't understand. Like, what are we supposed to do as fans? Are we supposed to just sit there and pay for the fights and watch these dudes like dance around each other for 12 rounds and be appreciative of it? And we can't say anything because Shakur said if we never laced up gloves, we can't criticize. So okay, we never laced up gloves.
Yeah, but we could pay, right?
We can pay. We can pay. And we can be happy, but we can't criticize. That's one thing. All right, so what are we doing?
What we're gonna do?
What are we doing then? What are we doing here?
Pay,
what's our role?
and we're gonna criticize. There's nothing you can do about it. How about that?
So what's my role at that point?
And mark my words. Dude's gonna have a great performance one day. He's gonna get praised and say, "All right, yeah, thank y'all." Like, I knew I had to give you guys a good fight, just like Mayweather would do. Remember when Mayweather would do that? When he knocked out Ricky Hatton, he said, "Yeah, I knew I had to come out and give the fans a good show, and the fans deserve it." They always come out and give that speech anyway and make all you defending them look stupid, right? So keep defending them. You know what I mean? They're gonna make you look stupid at one point.
Yeah, but I think this is why the exodus happens. Is people are just doing this math in their head and they're like, "All right, so what's my role here? Just to give you money? Why?" Why would I do that? Like,
I could go to the event. So I'm not supposed to boo, just cheer. And if I don't cheer, I need to pretend to like it, right? This is nuts, bro. Like, I'm sorry. And it's not the name of the game. They don't understand the history of the sport. Right? There's only a limit because the government forced boxing to put a limit on it. They used to box till there was one last man standing, right? That was the name of the game. This is a brutal sport, and I'm getting tired of watching the sport and getting lectured by the Tim Bradleys about how, like, we need to understand why a guy isn't fighting a certain way. And look, bro, the fight sucks. It sucks.
It sucks.
Right?
It sucks.
Like, I'm sorry. Like what do you like? Let's just be honest here, right? You need to be appreciative. Look, I could understand that it's effective, but not like it.
Yeah,
it's not that complicated. You know what I mean?
Not my cup of tea. That's it. But
if I pass by a building that somebody built, I'm not an architect, okay? And I don't like the design.
You know if it's ugly or not.
Oh, it's a fucking ugly ass building. What do you know? If you never built a building, if you've never been an architect, I don't want to hear shit from you, okay? But Shakur, when you go to a restaurant, unless you're a chef, I don't want you to say shit about the food. No, you better tip them like everything too. You give them the full tip. Even if you get a horrible service, you've never been a server. What the fuck do you know about serving? Right? So give the full tip. Don't complain. Don't say nothing. You go watch a movie. Have you ever directed a movie? If you never directed a movie or acted in one, don't say shit. Man, only in boxing they say this nonsense, bro. Nando Yama Shakur is doing his ducking in the ring. Oh, there you go. And let me tell you one more thing. It's such a good conversation. Like, would it have been more effective for Boots to box on the outside and keep it on the outside, his jab, and pity pat his way. It just fence him to a decision and to try to get hit at a lower percentage. Listen to what I just said. Lower percentage. Mm-hmm. But would he have been hit less? Because Cowboys, what round did the fight in?
The round ended between 5 and 6. So do you know how many punches that Boots took between 6 and 12?
Man, he got hit 0% of the time. He never got hit again.
Times between.
So how do you know if he boxed on the outside? That first of all, what if he got hit by what if Avanesian landed like a haymaker and rocked him later on because he's playing it to save? What if there's pros and cons to everything. The pro to taking risk and being more aggressive is you take out your opponent, you hurt your opponent more, so they become less of a threat, and you take them out earlier, and that's what Boots did.
Your offense becomes your defense. But this is what I want to say about Boots' performance, because I thought I logged on to Twitter after, and it just like it almost seems every time I log on to Twitter after a fight, it's like what I don't understand the mind of particularly the American boxing fan at this point and content creators. I'm watching the Boots fight, and I see a dude who clearly wants to get Avanesian out of there before Bud got him out of there. That was the goal, the objective before. We know triangle theory doesn't work, but we've talked about this. This is the move, right? The move is if you want a certain fight or if you want to be seen as greater than another fighter to the public, the move is to fight a similar opponent and beat them better. It's how Munguia got the Canelo fight the way he did. He goes to Phoenix, puts on a livelier crowd in David Benavidez's hometown. That makes him look better than Benavidez. And then he beats John Ryder better than Canelo beat him. So that's the move, right? So Boots wanted to do the same thing. So as far as the objective goes, it's a success. But this is the thing. He clearly didn't appreciate David Avanesian's power. He didn't appreciate it, right? So he's like, I don't respect his power. I clearly have the better arsenal here, so I'm gonna try to get him out of there, show my offense. There was ring rust. There's no doubt about it. And he even mentioned it. He was missing wide with some shots the first 2 rounds, but he's stepping up the output, landing some beautiful combination punches. He is a great offensive fighter, but he's a Philly fighter to his core, D-Style. That's who he is. He's a Philly fighter to his core. And I love Philly fighters. I love how they fight because they have skill. They can mix offense with defense, but guess what? They want to get you out of there. They want to get you out. Bernard Hopkins may be the exception to that, right? It's not a monolith, but there's a certain temperament that generally comes with the Philly fighter, and Boots has that. And it was beautiful to me that 14,000 plus show up in Philly.
And look how the people rewarded that.
Yes, I was beside myself watching him come out to the ring and seeing this lively crowd that was there. I knew people there. They're there almost packed to the rafters an hour before the fight. They arrive early. I was beside myself. How do you not have this guy fighting in Philly for 6 years? 6 years they didn't have this dude fighting in Philly.
But
I was
remember,
beside myself.
Mr. Businessman, Steven Espinosa, like Muratalla's again another guy, right? The boxers are doing it to people when we critique about the fights, and the business guys do it to people, right? So like, well, you don't know about the business. We know what we're doing with Boots, and no, you did not know what you were doing with Boots.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
And Steven Espinosa has a lot to say when he wants to criticize Eddie Hearn, right?
Yeah. He
was very quiet this weekend. Right, he was just tweeting conspiracy theories about how the shooting of Trump was fake. That's what he was tweeting about. Okay, he couldn't say, "Hey, man, I work with Boots. I'm happy for him. I always knew he would be a big star, or something." Like nothing. Quiet. Okay, that's how you know he never gave a fuck about Boots. That's how you know he never cared about the best interests of Boots, because he had nothing to say when something great for Boots happened this last weekend. They never cared. So all those years we were criticizing PBC and people would throw weird shots at us and, you just hate PBC and you guys are just fanboys for them. Blah, 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 blah. No, you guys, you're the PBC fanboys. Okay, you're projecting onto us. They didn't know what they were doing with fucking Boots, and look at now.
Ali's criticism I had of this career, that super talented dude, super marketable, likable guy. One of the few young American fighters that's actually likable and wants to entertain fans. And you got this dude fighting in LA, buried on an undercard, underneath fighters that he's more talented than, and he fought 4 minutes, a total of 4 minutes in 2022. Embarrassing. And you got him fighting in Indian casinos. You got him fighting buried on pay-per-view undercards, and he could be main eventing in Philadelphia. And I got dudes telling me that these dudes are playing 8D chess back there. You just don't understand the business of the sport.
You had an undefeated Boots. You had an undefeated
Stephen Fulton Jr.
Stephen Fulton Jr. You had Danny Garcia for years. You had they couldn't do anything. The fact, 5-6 years ago, they could have done a triple header with those three guys, bro, in Philadelphia.
Yep.
And
they tried to get Stephen Fulton Jr. to not go to Japan, and now this dude, he's been laid up for 13 months, whatever it is, and he's gonna fight on Caleb Plant's undercard. I've never even heard of the dude Caleb Plant's about to fight. Never heard of him.
But the fact that they couldn't get my issue with PBC, and a lot of us know this, is that Al Heyman, who is really people could play semantics with me all they want. He's not a promoter. Yeah, okay. Just everyone calls him the promoter. Like Manny Pacquiao called him a promoter. Jesus Ramos called him a promoter. Like a bunch of PBC fighters we interviewed say he's the promoter, but whatever, right? Those puppet promoters ain't shit, including Sampson. Okay, so y'all could take that to the bank, right? He's the captain of that ship. He runs those fighters, bro, like a manager, not a promoter. Right. Mm-hmm. So they reach a certain point. He doesn't push them to do anything. He doesn't put them in positions where they got to pass a torch, or the fact that, and I get, because we always get reminded, right? Yeah, but Boots wasn't a PBC fighter. Okay, but he was stuck under a banner that was controlled by PBC, right? So he was like the Jon Snow of PBC. He was like the bastard son. All right, that's what he was.
Why are you going at Jon Snow? What is this?
All right.
But as far as Boots' performance, though, he sacrificed defense for offense. I'd much rather that than the dude who sacrifices offense to be overly defensive, overly careful, overly safe. Give me those dudes that assume risk, D-style, both in and outside.
I think he was defensively responsible in that fight. Yeah, I don't think he was rock'em sock'em. I don't think he was throwing caution to the wind in a irresponsible way to just be entertaining the way it's being insinuated. The more like it's like anything in life. The more aggressive you get, yes, you become a little more vulnerable defensively, right? But he become more effective offensively. And if that offense is effective enough, you render your opponent useless for the remaining of the fight, and therefore you don't get hit anymore.
Yeah. So we got to give Avanesian credit, right? Because he was a top 10 welterweight when he was active on the bottom end, and he had some success with Bud before he didn't. But this is why I love fighters like Boots, Bud. They're cut from that cloth. In a way, the same thing is they'll assume risk. They are fighters. They want to get you out of there. They want to fight. You've heard me throw out this comparison. It's like the dude who shows up at the club and he sticks his foot out and he wants you to step on his Air Force Ones. He wants confrontation. These dudes like to fight. They like to fight, these style.
Yeah, he likes to fight, and there's nothing wrong with that. And fans that are against that are weird to me. I'm sorry.
Yeah, me too. And look, you can criticize. They did this thing with Bud. But when Bud fought Avanesian, these dudes were saying, man, if Errol caught Bud with those shots, Errol would put him out. Avanesian's just a Eurobomb. And guess what? The openings were not there because he did not fight the same way against Errol.
Here's the other thing. Maybe Avanesian just did better against Bud than Errol Spence did. Okay,
there you go.
How about that one too? And maybe Avanesian's a world-class fighter, so him getting some shots in shouldn't be shocking to you, goofy motherfuckers. Okay, I'm sorry. All right, but just to my last point, the fact that PBC, right, because of the way they run things, the fact of the matter is they should have put Danny Garcia in the ring with Boots years ago. All right, That should have been Boots coming out party. It should have been done in Philadelphia. Could have Stephen Fulton on a pre-main on that fight. Okay, and it would have been a big event, but they can't do that because Al Heyman doesn't think that way.
Right.
Okay, and Al Heyman didn't want to do a favor for a non-PBC fighter. So there's that for you. Okay. One last thing about Boots, Alex. I kind of want him to go to 154.
Me too.
Okay, you've been a world champion at welterweight. Cool.
Me too.
I think there's a lot of great fights to do at 154, a bunch of them. And I want him in that mix. I want him part of that mix, to be honest with you. But if it's saying at 147, I'm not against that either. I'm just telling you what I prefer. 147 is fine too. If I'm Boots, I start calling out Tio. I'm like, Tio, I know you keep calling out Crawford, but I'll fight you. Right? That's a fight I would like. And if I'm Boots, I actually would welcome that Ryan Garcia fight next year.
Yeah, I'd like him to go the Paul Williams route instead of the Gennady Golovkin route. The Golovkin route would be mow everybody down at 147. That the top opposition available to you at 147 until some of these guys move north up to 147. Because realistically, who's the threat at 147? It would be Stanionis, right? Virgil moved up, Bud moved up. So to me, I would like to see him chase the action, chase the smoke up to 154 and get the fights, because to me, the two fights to make, and the frustrating thing is, as a boxing fan, is I fully expected to go in the opposite direction. I expect them to, after Bud versus Madrimov, start to push Canelo versus Bud, right? And Canelo's going to do this tune-up fight that they're going to put on pay-per-view, unfortunately, is what it looks like in September. And I fully expect them to try to make Canelo versus Bud December, January, something like that. And look, that's going to be, a lot of people are going to love that fight. And to each his own. And that's going to be seen as a legacy fight. It is.
Yeah, for sure.
I just would rather see closer to weight classes. I would rather see, I think you can always do that fight. Maybe it won't be as big as the pushback on that, but I want to see Canelo Benavidez and I want to see Bud versus Boots.
For sure. Look, we got a lot of things to tackle on with some time limits, so let's go ahead and proceed here. But really quick, Murataya, Tevin Farmer. Murataya's performance wasn't all that to me. But I think in the second half of the fight, he picked it up with pressure, and I think that's what won him the fight. But Tevin Farmer looked actually pretty good early on in that fight. It kind of surprised me. What did you make of Murataya's performance?
I think he's another stagnant fighter, another guy who looks stagnant. Tevin Farmer did good early, and we expected that, right? For Tevin Farmer to be in the fight halfway through, and then Murataya started to pull away late, hit him with activity. His power started to show up almost. You and I were texting back and forth during that. Murataya almost put him out with about a minute left, caught him with a huge shot, but didn't get the job done. I just think he's a stagnant fighter right now, and I don't think his power is carrying up. I think he's another one of those guys like Berlanga, a Gabe Flores Jr., where his attributes aren't going to translate to the top level. Here's the good news from Murataya, though, is it doesn't have to, because he's an action fighter. So you can always put him in good action fights, even if he doesn't reach that potential that we 100%. Once thought he had.
Right. No, I definitely agree with that. And of course, Janibek didn't make the weight. He passed out, and I guess one of the sanctioned bodies asking for proof that he was ill, right? Or else they might strip him.
Time to move up.
Yeah, so that's the message, right? Time to move up. Like, I mean, that should be like an automatic. If you passed out in the process of cutting weight,
move up.
Unless he could prove it had nothing to do with the weight, which I doubt.
Yep, the smoke's at 168 anyway. Middleweight's a dead division, so just move up. Instead of trying to save that division, you can't make that weight. Move up to 168, and we'll see if his skills translate there. I have my doubts.
Yeah, I have my doubts too. You know what I mean? It should be interesting. It's kind of sad what's happening to the middleweight division, but
it's atrocious. Shiraz is going to have to be the guy. Shiraz is going to have to be the guy.
Let's hope, but like he needs dancing partners.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And if you don't have a dancing partner, I mean,
Riyadh season could get him that though. Riyadh season could get him that.
Let's hope. You know what I mean? But there doesn't seem to be like this like feeling the prestige with the middleweight division anymore, or even like welterweight's kind of losing that now. And And it's kind of sad, to be honest with you, but what are you going to do? Hopefully it picks up at one day, at one point, that is. Let's talk about this Canelo thing. Two rumors going out. One rumor is that Benavidez is outpricing himself. I don't know how true that is, but there's rumors about that. And there's rumors about Canelo possibly fighting in the UK or maybe even in Vegas against Eubank as an opponent. But many, including Eddie Hearn, is out there saying, yeah, that Eubank's probably going to want a fortune for that fight. So is it possible that negotiations and the quote-unquote business of boxing is going to keep us from an announcement anytime soon here?
Yeah, I think we'll get some sort of announcement with Canelo soon. I would expect something next week, 2 weeks at the latest, because we're getting towards that time if he's going to fight September, October at the latest, right? So I think they'll stay off that September 14th date. I think they would be wise to do that, especially with a fight like this. It's a glorified tune-up. I just want to make clear, that's why I've been doing these videos, what I want next as a boxing fan. I've been clear about that. And we have to wait for the details, right? Because the devil's in the details, and I'm sure that'll come out over time. If this fight isn't made, who's to blame, and we'll assign blame and all that stuff. I just want to wait as far as that goes. But one of the two fights, Benavidez or Bud, is going to have to be made by February of 2025 at the latest, to me. And I think it will. I think it's going to be the Bud fight. And I've thrown out my criticisms of that fight, but that's an acceptable fight that the market's saying that's an acceptable fight. So that's the good news for Canelo. But here's where I'm as a fan is if he puts this fight on pay-per-view in Vegas, whether it's Berlanga or Eubank Jr., I'm out. And this is the first time I'll say that about a Canelo fight in a long time is I'm out. I understand the tune-up thing before, but the thing is you can't put those on pay-per-view. You just can't. D-Style, you can't put it on pay-per-view. So to me, it makes sense. You have to make it make sense as far as location. Berlanga, Eubank Jr., that's not a Vegas fight. That's a fight you put in New York or the UK. It's a barnstorming type fight. You have to get creative with tune-ups. You have to get creative with them. And that's not creative. Putting it in Vegas on pay-per-view is not creative. It's not going to get people like me to buy. And I haven't sat out a Canelo fight, and I can't even remember the last Canelo fight I sat out. I can't remember when that was. I really can't. I've watched every Canelo fight for over a decade, and this will be the first one. If they put this in Vegas and they put it on pay-per-view, I'm out. I'm done. I'm not doing it. I'll catch you on the next one. I'm not completely out. It's not saying I'm not a Canelo fan anymore. It's just me as a customer saying I'm part of the market, and this doesn't work for me. This doesn't work. It doesn't. You should have put this as part of the subscription. You should have made it work. And maybe he does. Maybe he does that.
Well, what I want to see, because I know people are saying it's not a rumor, D-Style. Here's what I want Team Canelo to do, right? I get why they do business a certain way, and I get that Canelo doesn't care what people think, but bro, just here's what you need to do. Like, all bullshit aside, okay? And it's for your image here, all right? If you're offering Benavidez to fight, and there's pushback right now, then you need to come out in public and say, hey, we offered this dude to fight.
Yeah.
That's what you need to do. Then you need to come out and you need to say it. I need Reynoso to come out and say, hey, we offered Team Benavidez to fight. We offered him X amount. What's up? They're telling us he ain't ready, he ain't this, he ain't that. And you could put to rest all the bullshit already, right? You know how fast people will drop the whole, there's always going to be haters anyway. They're going to say Canelo's trying to weasel his way out anyway.
Yep.
But imagine how quick, Alex, that people will drop it. Just the whole idea that he's stuck in him, right? If he says, look, he knew I was fighting in September, and now he's saying he needs more time, this and that. Like, no, bro, it's time that you tell him, no, you get ready for September, or the ship's going to pass. I'm offering to fight. Let's go. Mm-hmm. Right? You're not a shot caller here, because let's just be honest, he's not. Right? You're not in a position to tell Canelo to wait, bro. You just aren't. You're not in that position, and you should have been ready. You should have stayed ready. But if Team Canelo doesn't do that, it's just a rumor to me, bro. It's just hearsay to me. They need to come out and just make it clear. That's it. I get they want to be professional and negotiate behind the scenes, but they're not being professional. Right? David is coming out and saying, oh, they try to just offer me $5 million thinking I would pull out of the fight. But I was willing to take it, and they still ducked, and he's scared. Okay, that's how they're talking. Then you tell us what you offered, right? If it's more than $5 million, you know what? I'm going to say, what's up, David? I thought you would take it even if it was just $5 million.
Yep.
Right? And if it's for September, the September date, what's up? You know that's when Canelo's going to fight. So I don't want you bitching and moaning when he fights somebody else on that date, right? You're supposed to be the Mexican monster. Last I checked, monsters wait for you in the closet. Last I checked, monsters grab you from the legs when you're sleeping. The cucuy, the boogeyman. They stalk you. They go after you. Imagine watching a Jason movie and the monster's like, I'm not ready. Hey, Jason, action. The couple is kissing. They're about to have sex. The perfect time to put the damn hook on them. Both of them and kill them. I ain't ready. You're not ready.
So some of the issues may be.
Imagine somebody having a dream and Freddy's like, I'm not ready for you to go to sleep. Hold on. Stay awake for a little more. Anyway, go ahead.
One of the issues may be that yesterday's price is no longer today's price, right? Because maybe they're seeing the market start to push back on some of these Canelo fights, and they're not maybe doing the numbers they were before. So maybe they can't pay the B-side fight. We talked for years about how Canelo's a generous A-side, right? We talked about how he's the most generous A-side that we've seen in how long? I mean, maybe ever, right? Yep. Caleb Plant, $10 million plus pay-per-view upside, right? And Billy Joe Saunders, take the 22-foot ring, whatever. He's been such a generous A-side that dudes use it against him. And I think when we start to hear rumors of Eubank Jr. maybe pricing himself out, I think what it is these dudes are seeing dudes make $8 to $10 million to fight Canelo, get whatever they want.
And what we said before, that being generous, it's only making fights more difficult to make in the future.
And it may be to a point now where things are tighter and the market is tighter. So you can't pay Eubank Jr. this type of money. You can't pay Berlanga this type of money. And the networks aren't going to fork out this type of money for this fight. And even for tune-ups, you have to put them on pay-per-view. It's getting to that point. All I'm saying is this isn't my problem. So they're going to offload it. They're going to offload the price of all this onto the consumer. And that's where
I was very frustrated when this happened as a consumer, right? And even as a Canelo fan, when Canelo was over, like he was fighting on the zone, right? And then we all knew it, right? As soon as he wants to become undisputed, he wants to fight Caleb Plant, right? To become undisputed. And we all kind of knew, this is going to be impossible to make.
Yeah.
Or Canelo's going to have to make a bunch of concessions. I don't want to dive too deep into all that. We all know what happened. But if he would have stuck to his gun and just told Caleb, no, you're going to come over here to fight me. Because they offered him $10 million to fight on the zone. No, you're going to come over here and fight me. If he would have done that, we would have won as consumers. So we would have gotten that fight. It wouldn't have been on pay-per-view, and it would have created the precedent we have now with all Canelo fights being on pay-per-view.
Yep.
Because in order for him to go back to the zone, he had to be paid pay-per-view money, right? We had it good. We don't even know how good we had it. And we have people cheering that on, telling, oh, yeah, it has to be on pay-per-view. That's better. Why? So we have to pay for it? We're already paying for the zone. It normalized and it even made the zone turn back the whole, like we're killing pay-per-view. They turned back on all that whole thing, right? And the Caleb Plant, fight with the Canelo, it changed the game in many ways, right? I just think if only Canelo would have just stuck to his guns and no, if you want to fight me, if you want to make your $10 million payday, you got to come over here. He had every right to say that. He was the A side. It made no sense, right? Why you have to go elsewhere? And then people wonder, like, why do you care if he was going to go to? Why do you care if he would have gone to to PBC or not? What do you care? He's not a horrible person. Let me throw shots at him on Twitter like a fucking loser because he said something about that. Fucking stupid ass motherfuckers, right? This is why I care. Look at where we are now, bro.
Yeah.
Stupid motherfuckers.
You're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So it's a tough market. It's a tough thing to navigate, but as consumers, we're saying this isn't our problem. This is the problem that you created. This is the problem that the power brokers created, and unfortunately, they're gonna offload this onto us, right? And we're gonna have to pay constant pay-per-views. The amount of pay-per-views, dude. The amount of pay-per-views this year.
It's getting worse.
It's getting worse.
It's crazy. Like and people will come to us and be like, because you guys don't understand business, okay? In order to pay them what they want, you got to do the pay-per-view and you got to buy it or else you're a horrible boxing fan. Like,
we don't care. We don't care. You told us to focus on the sport. We're focused on the sport. We're going to focus on the sport and call for the top to fight the top. And then when we do that, you're going to say, well, it's business. We can't do that. And then when we focus on the business, you'll say, no, you go focus on the sport. All right, so what do you want me to do? What do you want me to do?
You know what we're going to do? We're going to do what the fuck we want to do. That's what we're going to do.
And we're going to criticize what we want to criticize. And that's what we're
And all the tactics, they're not working anymore. Okay, we criticize the PBC fighter. Oh, why do you say that about the zone fighters? We do. We do say that about the zone fighter.
Why'd you say that about Dimitri Bivol? We did. We did. We called Dimitri. Believe me, nobody has called out how Dimitri Bivol is boring as much as I have. And nobody said the guy's still talented. I wouldn't pick anybody 175 South to beat Dimitri Bivol, but that dude is boring, and I don't like watching him fight. So the same things I've said about Shakur, I've said even more about Bivol. Hey, you want me to, when I throw out domestic abuse, I've thrown domestic abuse claims at Bivol too. So you don't say, what about Bivol to me? I've criticized him.
Now, somebody asked about the Tim Tszyu rumors. I'll be honest with you guys. I haven't even. I've been so busy at work. I haven't even kept up with anything, to be honest with you. So I don't know.
They're announcing something. They're announcing something today. No Limit Boxing.
That I do know. They're going to announce something, so it'll come out. You guys could actually get the newsletter with No Limit as well to be the first ones to get it if you want to be the first or whatever. But we'll know what we know.
Zones, different time zones. I'm assuming it'll be some point tonight.
Yeah, at some point today. So morning in Australia is already morning, but it's like 6 a.m. over there. So like it'll come out, it'll be announced, and we'll all know, right? Yep. So I just don't know. I reached a point, Calix, now where it's like we'll know what we know, and that's it.
Yep, that's where I'm at.
Like it's where I'm at right now. Because then I spent too much energy talking about things that might or might not happen. Now I made an exception today with the Canelo stuff. Because Canelo's a big enough name for that, but it's just I don't want to exhaust my energy with things that might not even happen. Like, you know what I mean? Yep. Like watch Eubank Canelo might not even happen, and we're wasting all this energy talking about it. Like, so like that's why I've reached that point. But Tim will fight who he fights. He'll fight where he fights, and we're all gonna find out, and we'll have all the time in the world to talk about it. But that is that. Any last words, Calix?
The return of Junto Nakatani on Saturday, the one true emperor of Japan. The one true emperor of 118.
Well, I don't know about that.
Anyways, the one true pound for pound emperor, but the emperor Kazuto, your boy Kazuto Ioka, he's no longer the emperor of Japan.
Because you know what happened with Ioka? That wasn't his opponent. That was Father Time.
Yeah,
that's true. Got up to him. That is what it is. That's true.
But Junto's back.
They waited him out. They aged him out. What are you gonna do? You know what I mean?
It's gonna be another knockout for Junto.
I think Ioka can win the rematch, though. But he can make some adjustments.
No, I don't think so.
He made some adjustments against Bad's brother. So
it's a terrible matchup for him. Not this one. But Junto's the guy. He's sending his opponent to the Shadow Realm this weekend.
The Shadow Realm. Well, guys, we appreciate everybody that tuned in. This is D-Style Boxing. We'll leave you with this. And keep it boxing, guys. All right, we're out. Peace.